Welcome to the Mike on Much podcast. I am your host, Mike Veerman, and I am here with my friend and trusty producer, Max Kerman. Max, what's going on?
Not much.
Also here with our pop culture aficionado, Shane Cunningham. Shane, what's up?
Yo, yo.
Today on the show, fellas, we have the Sheepdogs.
Sheepdog a dog.
That's right. So we're going to be getting to them in a bit. That's what they initially went by, right?
Yeah, exactly.
They're going to be on in a bit after we do a little bit of chatting. But before we get to them, guys, what's been going on? I feel like we released the live show episode with Catherine Reitman.
Yeah.
Best show ever, man.
Best show.
And
We're going to keep talking about it.
so we haven't recorded, or did we record last week?
No, we didn't. No, we didn't record last week.
Okay, so we've had a bit of time away.
Yeah. And to be honest, we have a big week of interviews ahead of us.
It's a busy.
I don't want to give
week.
any secrets away, but I forgot that we were recording tonight. So
it is a Monday night.
it's a Monday night.
At court, we were supposed to meet at 6 o'clock to record.
And this is the only one I've ever really needed you to be on time for.
I know. And what happened was I was literally like around the building. I was, 50 meters away at like 5 o'clock. And then I went up and I was going to make dinner for Lauren. I was making dinner. And then I got the text from you saying, are we potting? I was like, shit. But then I know I was going to be back here tomorrow at lunch. And I know you guys work in the building. So I said, I'll just do it tomorrow at lunch, hoping it'd be okay. Shane would be able to go home. But then, as we'll find out in the dessert, we had some guests here. That was a bit of a surprise for me.
As a tease for your listeners and sort of a peek behind the curtain, today we recorded the dessert before we recorded the open.
Were you surprised, Max?
I was surprised. It was good though. It all worked out, I think. So I called an Uber, and the woman who picked me up in the Uber, she was kind of the sort of thick rim glasses, maybe like in her late 50s, and I was on the phone with manager
I've been
Ash.
described that way. But go on.
And
Nothing, Shane?
No, that was good. I'm smiling.
You're still thinking about your dessert.
That's funny.
And so I was talking to manager Ash on the phone. I was like, I forgot to go to the podcast or whatever. And then I got off the phone, and she goes, so what's your podcast about?
The Uber driver asked?
Yeah, the Uber driver. And I was like, and then she's, it's a pretty simple route to get down here from Lauren's house. And then she started taking side streets, which she did not need to do.
Oh,
and
to prolong the conversation.
I don't know to prolong the conversation. She just like thought she knew better, but it was definitely way slower. And she had like a pen and a paper out that she was like writing on as she was driving. And so she's like, so what's your show like? I was like, pop culture. She's like, you guys talking about the Kardashians? I was like, no. And she's like, so what do you guys like? I was like, there's some, we talk about current events and movies and stuff. She's like, so like Howard Stern, huh? I was like, well, we're not quite as crass as Howard Stern, I don't think.
Wait for the dessert.
Yeah, wait for the dessert. Like that. And then she was like, I live with the New Yorker, I'm used to those New Yorkers and the way they talk. I was like, okay. She's like, yeah, I used to sell antiques on Park Avenue. I was like, what the hell is going on? And then I was like, so I talked to her about the pod a little bit. I was like, so you must listen to podcasts, because she seemed to be kind of well-versed in how they work. She's like, no, I don't listen to any radio. I live with the New Yorker. She kept on saying,
what does that mean?
I don't know. And then I was like, what does your partner do? She's like, this and that. You know how New Yorkers are. It was so bizarre. Anyway, I got here.
Would you give her a rating wise?
I give her a 5. No tip though.
What would an Uber driver have to do for you to give them a poor rating?
Good question. This is actually sort of a moral argument I've actually had with Lauren. Maybe listeners can give some feedback. I'd love to know what you guys think.
Yeah.
It's because on one hand, people, should be, judged for their work and their professional service. And if they do a bad job, maybe you give them a 3 or a 4 or 2 or whatever. But then I feel bad because I'm like, it's like this person is driving a car and it's a tough job and it's probably not what they'd like to be doing. I get to do whatever I want basically all day long. And for me, it's true. And for me to sort of punish them if they, annoyed me a little bit, I don't know if that's the right thing to do either. So I'm inclined just to give 5s across the board. What do you guys think?
I give a 5. It would have to be so incredibly terrible for me to not just give a 5 out of sort of...
Yeah.
I had a driver once who was clearly on cocaine and had the farts. You know that happens, Max? That's why you laugh. And they went the wrong way down a one-way street. And I told them to stop, and they wouldn't stop. They slowed down, and I had to jump out of the moving vehicle.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's a 1 star.
Yeah, I still gave him 2, though. It was a woman, actually.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Huh. And she kept trying to give me Halloween candy. So like, you know how they leave like mints or
Sure.
Are you
like
sure you were in an Uber and we're just kidnapped?
No,
For Shane? Yeah, get in.
But that's the only time I've given less than
Less than
five.
yeah.
And I don't really tip though. I tipped once or twice. Do you ever do that?
I'll tip occasionally if the
they're
conversation is really good.
Yeah, I've tipped, but on someone like I really like. So, like I said, we're recording. It's a Monday. The Super Bowl just happened yesterday.
Yeah.
You guys all watch it?
Oh yeah, man.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
We did not watch it together in a party. We've done this traditionally, but everybody sort of. I just watched it with Danica by myself. Like just the two of us.
I was back in Hamilton and I watched it with all the Champagne boys. I saw your Insta stories. You were at your parents' house?
It was my stepdad Brad's birthday.
Ah.
Pod listeners might remember him as the man who attacked me on Halloween. But yeah, he's a nice guy when he's not drinking. And
5-star review.
Yeah, he gets a 5-star. Yeah, it was a good game. I thought. I don't normally watch football, so
It was an
pretty
awesome
entertained.
game.
Yeah.
And not to make this all about myself, but
Yes, we do need to talk about this.
it was kind of crazy. So we're watching the game and everyone's having a good time. We ordered a bunch of pizza, drinking beer, chicken wings, all that stuff. You know, going to break. We hear knocking at the door in the bumper. You know,
Are you happy or pissed that you don't get money for that?
No, so I think the way these deals work, it's like we've licensed songs to NBC Sports before, so I'm sure like part of the license is like we can play the song at this rate for any one of our NBC Sports events, and we won't tell you about it, but when it happens, then we'll pay you.
I remember seeing it in the U.S. Open.
Yeah, and that's NBC
Danica
Sports.
and I were like, "Is that knocking
Yeah.
at the door in the U.S. Open?" And then I texted you that one you did know about. You're like, "Yeah, it's super cool."
Yeah, but we had no idea about this one. And it was just kind of wild because it happened, and then everybody just like looked at me in the room. I was like, "What the fuck?" And then my phone started blowing up. Within like literally, a minute, I had like 15 people texting me and all over Twitter and Instagram. So people were very excited about it.
Yeah, so for our listeners, although if you're listening to this, and we're watching the Super Bowl, you probably were because you also Instagrammed it. Like as Al Michaels and Chris Collingsworth were like throwing the commercial, the American broadcast, knocking at the door, comes up and it's on. Like so, however many millions and millions of people watch the Super Bowl in America, they all heard your song as it was going to break.
It's the most watched event of the year, probably.
That's got to be a cool way for you to discover it's on that you didn't know.
It was a thrill, and then for the next like 45 minutes, I wasn't watching the game. I was just on my phone retweeting stuff.
Just playing the song on repeat.
Yeah, I was like, "That's a great song."
Were you with the rest of the band too?
Mike was there.
Nice. Was he amped?
Yeah, Mike was just generally like, "Whoa." He was kind of stunned, but as was I.
Have you noticed a peak in sales since?
No, I haven't checked. That was like 24 hours ago.
Congrats though.
Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah, it was cool.
Are the rates good?
I don't think so. I think they're fine.
Hey, millions of people heard the song.
Yeah, I did like a lot of people were concerned because I was like news to us. That was like my caption on Instagram and whatever. And people were like, "Yo, you got to get paid, man." People were really standing up. But I liked it. But Canadians really get happy if it's on the American broadcast.
Yeah.
Because it's one thing to be played on CBC or Hockey Night in Canada or whatever. Or
CTV.
Sorry. But when it's on the American broadcast, then it's an even bigger deal.
Yeah.
So it's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like we said, a pretty crazy game. The Eagles won. Were either of you going for the Patriots?
I always go for the underdog.
I was kind of going for the Pats just because I loved. I know. I don't know why, because I like the underdog too. But in this game though, like, I love the city of Philadelphia. They've never won.
Yeah.
They seem like nice people from the riot footage.
They all had smiles on their faces as they were flipping the car.
Yeah. Well, you saw the thing, them jumping off the Ritz-Carlton.
That was amazing.
Yeah. Did anybody get hurt there?
Yeah.
Someone had to have been killed. That looked.
were hurt.
Did
I
anyone
hated
die?
the riot footage. I hate that stuff.
Did you see the guy at the Ritz-Carlton though?
Yeah, doing backflips.
Yeah, that
he could
was-
have killed himself though.
True. And somebody else when he stage dove into the crowd, 12 feet
There's
below.
people out of their
Yeah.
mind. What's going to happen when the Leafs win the cup, if that ever happens?
That's exactly what I said to Shane this morning. I was
Well,
like,
when Vancouver did it, they went nuts too.
yeah, that was ugly.
what's this city going to react like? Because you'd like to think that it's like, no, we're above that as a city, but I don't know.
Well,
if we
remember
are.
the G20 summit or whatever it's called? What was that called?
Yeah,
Yeah.
the G20,
That was
G7 or
horrible.
something. But the thing about that is they're protesting, inequality and mistreatment of people all around the world.
And government policies and
Well,
all
you
that
gotta
stuff.
be nice.
No. I'd agree that generally speaking,
Be nice.
peaceful
I stand
protest
by that
is
statement.
probably the answer. But all I'm saying is that the difference there is that they're fired up because of the injustice happening around the world. the rioting that happened in Philadelphia because everyone's just like drunk on a Super Bowl championship. So the context is a little different.
I think that the rioters too with most cities, what happens is there's this small group, a small percentage of opportunists that go in the chaos, we're going to go out and commit crime. They don't care about the sport or the community. It's just like, I'm not going to get caught in the chaos.
Yeah, it's like a purge, you know? It's like, this is the night where we can do whatever we want. And
it's devil's night for that small, like if it's 5% of the crowd or whatever, that seems even high, but you know. It only takes a couple bad actors to flip a car.
It's true. But what were you going to say about the quarterback?
Oh, so Nick Foles is his name, right? Or is it Mick? It's Nick.
I think it's Nick.
I'm a huge football fan, guys. So the quarterback of the Eagles, after he won, so this guy sort of had this interesting story where he was a backup quarterback. Ad nauseum, they've talked about how he was going to quit, and then he sort of was like, I'll give it one more shot. Now this guy has won a Super Bowl. He's sort of the...
Never have to buy a beer in town again.
Exactly. He's at the top of the hill, you know, the highest achievement you can get in your field. And I guess afterward, a lot of people have been saying that like his sort of... What he said in his post game was a lot about the idea of not being afraid to fail, which we've heard a lot, you know. But he talked about how sort of, I guess, poisonous social media can be, like Instagram and Facebook. He's like, what you're seeing is the highlights of people's lives. He's like, and all it does is make people feel bad. He's like, so it's like if I'm already not feeling good or feeling bad, and I'm paraphrasing, by the way, he's like, and I look at that, he's like, I don't feel good about like my life. He's like, it's not helping me in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
And he went on to talk about like the idea of failure and just not getting too in your head and always believing, and how stories of failure and people that don't succeed resonate far more with him because he's done that thousands of times in his life, more so than he's like, you're looking at me and it's like, oh, he's a Super Bowl champ. He's like, but it's all of those times leading up to this to get here. You know what I mean? That it's like, you can't be discouraged. So it was an interesting thought. I was more interested in the idea of social media as poison, which people have talked about in the past. But how do you guys sort of frame that stuff? People's sort of like representation of their life on Instagram or social media.
It's interesting because I participated in this series called Juno Masterclass, which is sort of a mentorship for young bands that the Juno Committee or the Juno Awards put on. And, you know, I helped pick the winners, and I spent an evening with like the 3 acts that won, and just
You dog.
There was candles and pizza.
But one of the things I talked about, I was like, one of the things you all should do is anybody you follow, especially bands, because this sort of pertains to your career and how you think about yourself. Anybody that you follow that gives you anxiety or makes you feel like you're not good enough, or that just generally bums you out, just unfollow, because whatever you're watching or whatever you're looking at on their Instagram feed is just one representation of their life. And so, because this is what I've done, I don't follow any bands because if I see...
You don't follow the Killers?
I don't even follow the Killers.
Whoa.
Yeah. No, I mean, because I just know that every time I see a band that's like playing to a lot of people, or they got this festival, we didn't get this festival, I just get this really ugly side of me comes out where I get really jealous and petty. And ultimately, it's just very distracting from what you actually have to do to succeed, which is work. Because as soon as you get consumed and carried away with being jealous of somebody else's success or their life, then it's just a distraction. Like, to me, it's not motivating at all. It's just depressing. So you just got to really find, and this is just for me personally. I mean, maybe some people see what another band does and it's like really positive and motivating because I want to do that one day and it's awesome. But for me, at least, I have other ways that I get really pumped up and fired up and motivated. And it's not usually some idealized Instagram version of somebody else's life, if that makes sense.
The thing that annoys me about social media is less like me getting jealous or annoyed. It is just, I have no attention span. So I'm constantly looking at my phone every 3 seconds. And if I don't have my phone and it's not near me, I get anxiety because I feel like I'm missing out on something that I don't even give a shit about.
Yeah.
And I used to be more like jealous or envious if I saw someone doing something that I wanted to do, or if I was doing a post, I'd think I'd have to make it like kind of funny or kind of snarky or something like that. Like I think I'd have to make my captions cool.
Yeah.
But now I don't. When someone's doing well, I actually feel good about it. And when I'm doing a caption, I'll just like spend 2 seconds and I'll either do an emoji or I'll say exactly what I'm doing. Whereas before, I used to like try to craft these messages that I thought were funny, which were just like came off as more negative cool than anything else. But yeah, the main thing is I have no attention span, and that's what I'm trying to work on.
Mike?
Well, I mean, I think it's like interesting the idea. You'd think by now, because everyone's been talking about, why is Facebook so successful? Well, it's like it's a free website for yourself to like sort of weirdly promote whatever that is, your life. You know, not necessarily because it's like, it's not people don't have stuff to sell, but if you went to high school with people and then it's like a couple years later, it's like, oh, just bought our first house. It's like this weird updated website of yourself with the feed that is like curated very carefully. I feel, the reason I say this is because I feel like we've all known this for a long time, but I don't think the knowledge of that changes the fact that people do look at other people's posts and start comparing, you know, like Keeping Up with the Joneses or going like, oh, I wish my life was there. But we all know intelligently, it's like, well, that's just like one representation. Like,
but it's still easy to get fooled by it and get carried away in the fronting.
And participating. We all usually post the best moments. Like, it's like, it's rare that I think I heard a comedian make a joke. It's like, oh, they never post the part where they're fighting on their wonderful vacation in Italy and they're bitching about, oh, we've been on the road for 10 hours. Like, where was the turn? Like, you never see that on Instagram, which is the reality of most situations, I think. It started making me think too about just like materialism and the things that we post. And I was talking to my sister-in-law, Stevie, last week. Danica and I were talking to her, and she's reading this book on the idea of accumulating experiences over things.
Yeah.
So the idea is, it's like a lot of people, if you have a lot of money, it's like, oh, I want to buy a Porsche, or I want to buy the best Nike shoes, or like great clothes, because those things make you feel good. But those things actually don't really contribute to anything down the road in a sort of significant way. Whereas it's like me, stretching a bit to buy Raps tickets, like my 1/4 Raps tickets, like, it is a thing, but it's also an experience I'm buying, right? I'm going to every one of those games with one of my friends, and it's like I'm remembering those moments as opposed to, but I can't take it with me.
No, but that's okay though. I mean, those are the most valuable to me. And those are things that sort of shape you the most, whether it's a Raptors game or traveling or whatever, just like experiences, which buying some shoes doesn't shape you in any way.
I feel like when she was saying that, I was like, it resonated, because I feel like I've always lived, like, I've never bought fancy clothes. I've never cared about having like a cool car. Like, I don't, material things have never interested me. I've always been in like, we're going to go to Detroit for Max's birthday. Like, fuck yeah, sign me up.
Yeah.
That stuff's always got me way more excited. Where do you guys fall on that spectrum?
I'm not materialistic at all. Like, I don't care where I live. I don't care what I drive. I prefer not to drive. The thing that would humiliate me the most is if I had a really nice car. Because I feel like people would always be staring at me when I see a guy going down in like a Lambo. Everyone on the street, especially men, I find they stare at you, and it's just, I'd be like, oh my god, like they'd expect me to drive well and all this. So I like having like kind of shitty things.
Yeah, no, I agree.
When I was younger, I definitely cared about clothes and looking good just to attract babes. But now I don't give a shit.
You checked out.
All right, this podcast is brought to you by the sanctity of marriage and always trying to improve yourself. I mean, that's pretty much it for me. Anything else been going on, guys? I mean, I know in the dessert we're going to get to a little something, Shane.
Well, it was on my mind, and people were commenting in the Instagram post we just did recently. Like, people were like, where's the rap battle? Why don't you put the rap battle up? And I was telling someone that, our legal team wouldn't allow it because we used a track that wasn't licensed.
Yeah, we used a Biggie Smalls track.
Yeah, I think we could have just run it and hoped that we didn't get sued. But
I know you voted for that.
Yeah.
But if we got sued, would you have put in your own money to clear it? Get out!
Well, how much would it cost?
Maybe like about $500,000.
No, they wouldn't sue for that much.
If it was 50 G's, what would you do?
Of course I wouldn't do that.
We probably would have had to pay like the $800 for the like rights to use it after, like, posthumously.
$5,000, would you be cool with it?
No.
All right.
And that's why you guys didn't hear the rap battle on last week's episode live with Catherine Reitman. But to remedy that, Shane has a little something cooking in the dessert, which, again, like always, Max and I did not know what he was going to do when it started. But
yeah, but it was something.
That's a tease for that. But I think the impetus was that you were a little concerned that you felt other people thought the nut won the rap battle.
Well, because, like Kai Downey and Jeff, they all came up to me after the show. They're like, oh, don't let anyone tell you didn't win that rap battle, because you did.
It's your Ottawa boys.
And then we had a guy at work. He told me he thought I was the best during it, but I think he meant funniest, maybe not best rapper. But I guess some Champagne boys were saying that Birchall won.
I heard people say the nut one. Yeah.
Yeah, and maybe I don't know. I messaged Webmaster Dan. I was like, hey, can we put a poll up on Instagram and ask people who won the rap battle? And he said, oh, I thought it ended perfectly with it not being about who won, but just ended being about love, right? Because Birchall and I ended up kissing each other. I was like, yeah. But then I was like, okay, Dan, you're right. But I thought secretly, once the episode's released, people will hear the rap battle and then they can judge for themselves. But now that's never going to be released.
That's true.
So the dessert is about that issue. But who did you think won, Max? Honestly, like,
I think Birchall won
why?
because his flow is better.
Well, how is his flow better?
You asked me a question. I gave you an answer.
know, and
I'm not going to get into it.
Okay, but mine was supposed to be kind of funny, like, oh, you made me mad, now I'm sad, like doing rudimentary rhymes. He wanted every rhyme to be like a home run out of the park thing, which came off
he's
very
pretty good at
fake.
it.
Okay.
Really? I thought it was fine.
The Jonah Hill line wasn't the best line of the night. You're telling me that wasn't the best line of the night? Get out of here. Whatever. Who's the interview? Sheepdogs?
Yeah, we got the Sheepdogs coming up.
Hey,
here on the
one
podcast.
quick thing before we get to
hit me.
that. I just want to give a quick shout out. And so I went to a basketball game on Sunday. You guys were at this game too.
That's right, yeah.
You guys were
yeah.
Insta-storying it with a fellow named Ron Foxcroft. And he is a Hamilton guy and Burlington. And he invited me to the game. And sports fans may know him as the guy who invented the Fox 40 whistle.
Fox 40 whistle.
And Fox 40 whistle is the industry standard. I asked him, are there any competitors in the whistle game? He said, no, there literally isn't. And so every NBA game for the last 30 years has been a Fox 40 whistle. Every NCAA game, every league around the world uses this whistle. They have like 14 different models. They sell it at like 100 different countries. And he invented it.
So he's like the head of the whistle empire.
He is, because he was a basketball ref and he realized that the old P whistles weren't loud enough in a loud gym. So he hired some engineers and they perfected this whistle where you can blow in and it gets super loud.
And sometimes the ball would get stuck in those whistles.
That's what happened. That was the impetus for developing this new thing.
Necessity is the mother of invention.
That's right. So this guy's a fascinating guy. A quick story about Ron. He owns Fox 40, also owns Fluke Transportation. If it's not on time, it's a Fluke. It's a trucking company. And he also was a ref for like 30 years. He did MJ's first game at North Carolina. So I got to go to the game with him and I was like, what's LeBron like? What's MJ like?
He must have stories for days.
Oh, he knows every single person. Anyway, he's one of these guys, you know, when you meet someone who sort of reaffirms your biases or like, and so I was like, so how do you, like, are you logistics, like expert? Like, cause trucking is a lot of logistics. He's like, oh no, I don't know anything about that. I just hire really smart people. I'm like, do you know anything about like engineering with the whistles? He's like, oh no, I don't know anything about that. And he was just like, oh, I don't know anything. I just good at hiring, man.
Just hire guys to execute.
So he didn't invent the whistle. He hired a guy to invent the whistle.
Well, he came up with the idea, and then he
to
just
hire the guy to know.
So Shane, you always accuse me of not being able to do anything.
Delegate, I can't do anything
true.
either.
Which is very true. But anyway, meeting Ron, and this guy's a multimillionaire, like 100 times over. He doesn't know how to do anything.
Delegates.
And so I was feeling really good about myself.
You were looking at a future version of yourself potentially.
Yeah, big time. And the thing about Ron is couldn't be nicer. He's such a sweet guy. So I told him we were going to tour the UK, and he said, "Oh," his wife was there, and he's like, "Oh, you hear the guys are going to the UK? We met the Queen last time."
Oh my goodness.
Oh, hey guys, hey, Max, you gotta meet her.
She loves the whistle. Whenever she needs some crumpets or anything, she blows the whistle and the staff comes running.
That's right. She's a big fan of the Fox 40. But he's like, yeah, you gotta meet her when you're over there. You gotta say hi. As if we could just go knock on Buckingham Palace. But he wasn't even saying it sarcastically. He was just like, he's just a guy who's just like full of sort of optimism and just like, he's crazy enough to think that he could work literally 3 jobs at the age of 74.
Do you think his Instagram account's unbearable though?
No, he doesn't have Instagram.
Him and the Queen.
Yeah,
Him and Krzyzewski. Him and Calipari.
Yeah. So anyway, shout out to Ron Foxcroft. Inspiring guy.
Yeah, get us in a room with him. I want to hang out with the...
Oh my God, he'd be the best on the podcast.
I just want basketball stories.
Oh,
Didn't he write a book or something?
No, there's a documentary made about him called $1 Million Genius.
Wow.
Did he come up with that title?
Well, he sounds like an awesome dude.
Yeah, sweet dude.
All right. Well, guys, we got to get to the Sheepdogs.
Sheepdog a dog.
Gotta say, it's been nice talking with you guys. I feel like we haven't done this in a while.
I know.
It's been so
really
busy.
nice. I know.
Yeah. And we got a lot of great interviews coming up. Are we teasing any shit, or we just no?
Nope.
People will get it.
Wait.
We got 4 this week. But before we get to those, we're gonna get to the Sheepdogs, who we did this interview a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
I believe they're still on the road.
They got a new record that just dropped.
That's right. They absolutely have a new record that just
Shaggy
dropped.
hair still?
No, I think it's her.
They cleaned up a little bit.
Cleaned up a little bit.
Yeah.
But you know, the truth is, I've never. It's funny because it's like, I think with like a band like the Sheepdogs, who you guys know,
Yeah.
and like when we were in a band, we all kind of orbited around the same time. Like we crossed paths, even played some bills. But I'd never actually talked to these guys, so
Yeah.
I actually didn't know really what to expect. And I really enjoyed hanging out with these guys. Like
You're
they're
just smart dude.
smart-
Brian's smart dude.
yeah.
Sam.
good
Yeah.
dudes, man.
And we played with the Sheepdogs in 2008 in Regina. They were like first on. And then, of course, they had their big break, which I'm sure we get to in the interview.
Yeah.
And but they've really made an awesome career. Like Ewan's a workhorse, and he is very, you know, he's a student of that era of rock and roll, and it really comes through in that music.
Absolutely. Want to get to the Sheepdogs?
Let's do it.
You guys are gonna have to talk into the mics.
Yep, sure. 1, 2, 3.
Oh yeah, these are great levels.
hello.
We're golden. So you guys know I do this podcast with Max from Arkells,
Yeah.
and you guys know him.
Of course.
And I wanted to start, you know, he talks a lot about whenever you go out and do like an album cycle and you're doing press, there's kind of this, I think, expectation to be able to like talk about the album, or there needs to be a story behind the album. Like,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's kind of this thing for some, it's like, because sometimes people just want to make 17 songs and there is no grand story. Not to say there isn't one here, but how much do you guys frame, I guess, thinking about what's the story of the album going to be when you're going out and doing these kind of conversations?
Well, probably not enough because there's such an emphasis put on it. I think it has some. It speaks to the way that journalists or media people talk about music, and I don't think that they think about music in terms of sounds and like what just like. It's always done in terms of like the story of the band and the biography and the like client, and if there's like an easy story, then they're all over that, like especially if it ties into like, a hot topic, if it's like, some kind of like discrimination or overcoming adversity or those, whatever the topics of the day are. But yeah, I think there's like a disconnect between like music writing or music journalism and like actually just like talking about music. And if you like go back and read old Rolling Stones from like 60s or like Cream magazine, that Lester Bangs dude, who's an amazing writer, they actually were like digging into the music a little more.
Right.
I think we're like at a point in our society too where everything is about like a narrative. I mean, even to just like, a friend of mine from Saskatoon who has 200 followers on Instagram is doing the like, hey guys, like, Instagram stories. It's all about like creating a narrative even for yourself. So I think that's kind of crossed over into everything where it's
Hey
like,
guys,
like the classic hey guys. But no, but it's a funny thing. Like everything is about like creating even a narrative for yourself as an individual to your friends who you see on a regular basis. Like you're not talking to anyone else aside from the people you see out in the city every day, but it's about like trying to make everything seem more grandiose or more interesting than it actually is. And I think that's kind of crossed into every facet of our society because it's all about just being interesting every time, every point. So it's kind of a weird thing where we consume things so quickly. And so I think anything you can grab onto that makes it an interesting point, which is funny because like you had said, journalism has gotten to the point where it has been all about we need to find a story. We need to do that.
What's the hook?
What's the hook? And so it's funny because we always joke about that. I mean, our new record is called Changing Colors, and everyone immediately grabs onto that. Does this mean it's changed? Is like, are the colors changing? And it's like, well, we threw around about like 15.
It's just a cool name.
Yeah, it's a cool name. It worked, and but it is something we talked about because it's like, oh, that would be a good name because it does kind of like represent, and it's something we could talk about. And so a lot of times that narrative kind of evolves as you start having conversations with people about it when you kind of start rolling things out, and a narrative kind of seems to kind of take place because you end up kind of trying to justify the name and the story behind making the record or whatever.
Well, do you think it changed? Do you think we've changed the way that we consume now? So like for the listeners or even for you guys as listeners of other music, does it enhance the experience of listening to the music by having a narrative or a hook or knowing a story behind maybe how something was made? Or do you guys still like to consume just as it is? I
personally am not that narrative driven. Like I love I like what my ears tell me with music. And then if I love the music and then I find out there's a cool story after that, well, maybe make it more interesting and it's a fun anecdote to tell people when I'm showing them a song. But I always think of Roger Ebert had a great line when he talked about movies where if it was not a very good movie, but they had based on a true story, he'd always go, make up something more interesting. So I always think about like, I want quality. I don't need it to be dressed up with a nice story, but I totally recognize that I might be in the minority with that sort of mindset. But actually, I think Max is pretty good at like working with I think like the Arkells are pretty like good at like sort of noticing these things and then working with them. I think
understanding the paradigm, absolutely,
and totally, yeah. And they're like kind of masters at working with it.
You mentioned Roger Ebert. He has another great quote that I always liked where he talks about movies and he says it's not what a movie's about, it's how it's about it. So people are like, I don't like horror movies or rom-coms or shit. It's like, he's like, it's never about that. It's like, is it a really well done sort of thing regardless of genre?
It rises above the genre.
Exactly. This record has 17 songs, which is a lot for a modern record. Was that
unless it's a hip hop record?
Right, exactly. That's a great point. Do you was that a difficult? I guess my question would be when it comes to sort of putting out a record and talking to the label and all that sort of thing. Are they like, whoa, fellas, 17 songs, or are you guys basically like, no, this is what we're doing? And like, was it a difficult sell?
I don't think it was a difficult sell. I think that, they've come accustomed to their last record had 17 songs as well. I think they would have something to say maybe if they didn't feel that there was certain songs to be cut or whatever, but we went into the idea of, we just worked on this record for like 6 months and we just tried as many things as we could. And not everything we did made it. Not everything we did even got finished, but a lot of it was just, we'll put this together, and it kind of took shape and it made sense. It's a double-sided record and then a single side that's a medley that ends the last 6 songs of the record all flow together, and it's a medley, and they're short songs that kind of flow in and out of each other.
As long as there's some workable singles in the mix that they can then take to radio and or for promo and that kind of thing. Yeah. Then I think this is just my theory, but I think after that they don't care whatever else is on the record, as long as there's 2 to 3 single, so they can work.
Yeah, give us something to work with or whatever. Yeah.
You talk about the hip hop thing. I mean, we've talked about this. I mean, some of those albums have 40 songs and skits or whatever. And nowadays, with
answering
the way
machine messages,
as tracks, 100%.
But people want to have as much music as possible, and so you could put on streaming services. You can have someone can hear a single that's maybe on a playlist and then be like, whoa, there's 17 more songs and they can really get into it. It's nice to have more for people to listen to, more, you want to grab people's attention as much as possible too.
Yeah. When you guys, I guess, is this a case where you sort of write 50 and you chisel it down to 17, or do you feel like ultimately you kind of went with what you had?
I think we did about 19 songs, and we cut one and didn't finish another one, and that was all we could cut. But I don't know. There's lots of songs floating around, but just I don't know. I don't really know how we got there. We just sort of fumbled our way through it, and then eventually we're like, all right, we're gonna stop, and this is the album. So it's not really a science; it's an art, I guess. But there are elements of sort of science to it. But.
Mm-hmm. I enjoyed the Sheep Life music promo that you guys have up on the website right now, and you guys have done comedic videos and things like that. Do those ideas come from you guys directly, or do you have a director you prefer to work with? Where does the creative come from on the promo side and shit?
Actually, Ryan made that video.
Yeah, I do all that stuff. Yeah.
Oh, amazing. Yeah. I didn't know that.
Yeah, no, all the ideas usually do come from us. I mean, some of the videos we have worked with friends. I mean, there's the Way It Is video we did with comedian friends from LA that we were kind of all about trying to there's another video that uses action figures that a friend of ours who was a photographer, we tried working with other people that maybe just aren't specifically video directors, but with a lot of this stuff, I took on, I made all the video stuff that we've put out. I've done all of that. And so the idea behind the Sheep Life music thing was we sit in hotel rooms and drink beers and watch those old infomercials late at night. And so one night we're it'd be really funny to do one of these of our own. So put it all together, and we registered the 800 number. I set it up. So you can call that number and you can listen to some of the songs, and you can go through and order the record. And we convinced our friend, who's our designer friend who does all our album design, who lives in LA. We convinced him to answer the phone. So when we released that, you know, we get a shit ton of calls of people calling and not thinking that someone would actually pick up. Because we had the classic, like, if you order now, you get this changing colors mug. And so, yeah, but all that stuff, you know, I put together because it's just fun to like come up with that stuff and execute it within your camp, because there's a certain aesthetic that, you know, you like, and trying to explain it to somebody sometimes can be a little difficult, or, you know, doing it. So I kind of took that stuff on, and we all do it together. But I mean, I kind of do all the putting that together and getting people to film it, and I edit it and everything like that.
Oh man, that's awesome. Yeah, well, it's because it is difficult to sometimes try and explain a vision or get somebody to do it. And it's just easier, you know, like my day job is I like write and direct commercials, and then we do this thing on the side.
Yeah.
But when I was also in a band before, and all of our videos, like I did the treatments just because I found it was very difficult to try and like, because, you know, you go to these.
The treatments are terrible that you get from these directors.
I wasn't gonna go. Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. That's the thing.
They're horrible. They are.
You know, they used to have Much Factor. I think they still have it, maybe for another couple months.
Yeah, it's pretty much.
And then you kind of go to these directing houses, and then you get all these proposals in, and you're just going, what? Like,
well, and the classic thing too is like you get a proposal, and then you're like, okay, I guess this is the best idea, and then they come back and they're like, okay, well, we need like $20,000 more to do it.
Yeah.
And so like with all this stuff, I mean, like for the Time Life or Sheep Life commercial, we went to this weird space in Hamilton that had a green screen stage and like a sound stage thing, and it was like this really ramshackle thing, but it was super cheap, and the guy that ran it was just like, go for it. And it was like everything was done very cheap and just like exactly how I wanted, and we had fun with it, and it wasn't like this big to do, but everything kind of becomes like a big, you know, craft services and all these different people working, and you're like, and then in the end product you're kind of like, oh man, like we probably would have done that differently.
And everything is always like 70s related with us, like, so it's always just like we'll put you in a 70s car, and then
yeah, they would do the most obvious.
Hippie girls are hanging with you, and it's always like, all right.
Have you guys ever actually ordered one of those Time Life things when you're a little too drunk? And
Midnight Special DVDs, I think Sam has them.
Yeah,
they're pretty good.
Yeah,
it's like, you know, Bill Cosby with a cigar introducing Steely Dan and stuff.
That's hilarious. Yeah, they always have the roasts is another one that they always,
Dean Martin.
The Dean Martin roast.
Oh, yeah.
I like those.
In that Onion movie, there's that great fake roast commercial, which I think is like, have you ever seen that? There's like
No.
The Onion has a movie, which is not very
Love
popular.
The Onion.
But there's like, it's not very good, but there's the one thing, you find it online, where it's like this fake roast, like an infomercial for a roast DVD, which is like it's like making fun of the Dean Martin roast.
Yeah.
It's a classic.
That's awesome. You know, we're sitting in Greg Stewart's office, and there's this giant poster of you guys on the cover of Rolling Stone here.
Yeah.
And so my question would be, you know, all of us that have been in band stuff, there's a million like talented guys that I'm sure that you guys like came up with and play with that don't get an opportunity like that. When you get an opportunity like that, is it sort of the best thing that ever happens? Is it a burden? How do you guys frame, you know, something like that sort of jets you ahead of everybody and sort of kickstarts a wider sort of recognition and career?
Well, I mean, that whole thing happened at a time where we'd been a band for 7 years.
Yeah.
And it was a really big boost to what we were doing. Obviously, it put us in the spotlight. You know, there's certain things about it. I mean, they get associated with it. A lot of people, I think, still to this day kind of think we're this band that was like put together to win this contest or something like that. So much of what, you know, we've done afterwards has been the idea that we're going to like constantly be putting out music, touring, playing like the best live shows we can. And it's the idea of like, no, actually we were a band for a very long time before this, and we want to continue to be a better band. There's certain things about it maybe are a burden in the sense that like we're very thankful for it, but it is something we get associated with this contest band. But
It probably would have been better if we had like gotten all the way to the end of that competition and then lost it.
Interesting.
Or something.
Yeah, the old second place
The
thing.
second place.
Yeah.
mind you, the girl that got second place didn't do anything.
Yeah, but she sucked. You know, it's good. I think there's like a bit of I think a lot of people were like, well, who the hell are these guys, and why did they have this cover for, you know, kind of a superficial reason, you know, like to win a contest and that kind of thing. So I think we spent some time, you know, just buckling down and just doing a lot of the hard touring and everything to, you know, continuing to tour hard to sort of just show people that we weren't just some goofy contest winners or something like that. But, you know, we'd be lying if we said it wasn't a huge thing, because it just gave us a huge spotlight. At least in Canada it did. It's, you know, America, we're still, you know, hitting the pavement pretty hard and trying to build it up. But, you know, it's a pretty interesting experience, pretty surreal.
And I mean, if say that doesn't go down, still touring, still doing the same thing? Like life, do you think life would be much different now if that doesn't happen?
Yeah, it would be. We were running an operation that basically had like, we had like a $7,500 line of credit from a bank that we would like max out every tour, come back, and then we would like organize like our own show at a hall and sell all the beer and make money off of that to pay down our debt. And like, so we're running this really kind of like small time business operation, which actually is good because it taught us a lot of things about how to like actually run a band, which are very valuable. But I don't know how much longer we would have continued to do that because, I have so many friends that were in bands that, they tour hard and they don't make any money.
Yeah.
And that just, that doesn't last. Like you just go, enough of this. I'm going to go do something else. And so I don't know that without us, because the popularity from that just put us into a level where we were starting to sell tickets and stuff. So if we hadn't had that, I think we could have, definitely built up something. Like we could see that like in Winnipeg, we could sell out a small theater.
Yeah.
And our hometown Saskatoon, we would do really well. We were probably starting to get a few people out to shows, playing the Dakota Tavern a couple nights, every few months. But that's such a slow build, and I don't know if we would have been able to stay the course. It's tough being broke, and
Absolutely.
Especially being in Saskatchewan, because every time you want to go somewhere, it means you have to drive forever, and which costs money. And it was a time when it was like we've been doing it for 7 years. We were in like our mid to late 20s, and you start getting that point where you're like, I love music. I love playing music with these guys, but maybe we start just doing that where we just play around town and figure something else out. Because it is very difficult when your job that you have involves you needing to be like, okay, I'm going to leave for 3 weeks or a month and then come back, and it's hard to kind of maintain both sides at the same time. And we worked our jobs up until we were still technically employed when we were like the cover thing came out. So it was like
I already lost my
job. No, but it
I was just a bartender, so it didn't matter.
But it was
Were you let go?
Yeah, well, because I'd always leave, and then like they just give other people shifts, and I came back and be like, hey, can I get a shift? And no, you're done. You're done, bud.
Well, something like that is, I was telling you, I asked Sam Roberts about this, and he'd taken a bit of time. He was sort of, like you said, late 20s. He'd been touring and doing a bunch of stuff. And something like that is like, or like award recognition, it's like legitimizing in the eyes of everybody that's been seeing you do it for 7 years. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, this is like a tangible thing, and then it can allow you to sort of earn some money, which is honestly probably the hardest trick to pull off in any sort of band, I guess... you guys are going on tour, 21 dates. Is that what it is? All across North America?
Yeah, I think it might be a few more.
It's just
that's a Canadian tour with a couple of little American stops on the way. But there'll be more like American tour and Europe tour coming up.
Very cool. And the album's out in February 2nd.
Feb Sec.
Are you guys, like you said, you're doing it 7 years before, the cover, and then now it's been what? 5 years since that? I don't even know.
It was 2011.
6 years, so almost 7, yeah.
Almost 7.
So
it's wild.
Yeah, being on the road that long, what do you still like about it, and what do you sort of find difficult about it?
Well, it's kind of an adventure. Your new town every day is exciting in a sense, and a lot of us, we try to find whether it's a record store or a vintage store or just like what's the best plate of food in town, like all those kind of things are like still interesting and fun. We got old friends in a lot of these towns as well.
Yeah.
Whatever the local color is, that's interesting to us. I really miss, food is a big thing for me. And so when I go on the road, I really miss like home cooking just because you eat out all the time and it just wears you down, or you eat rider food and you just kind of miss like, chopping up a bunch of onions and garlic and sauteing it and making a stew or something like that. Like I miss like the home cooking. That's for me, at least.
Yeah, for sure. I think there's like, obviously, as get more successful, it's people working for you. We have a bus for these Canadian shows, and the tough parts of touring were the driving and like dealing with weather and the stress of like finding the venue, loading in. All those kind of things have been cut out, so it's nice that we can kind of just focus on making sure the show's good. Yeah. So that's a plus. It still is tiring, and there's a lot of extra added things that are part of our day that maybe weren't all good things, but I think like the tough part is that when you're away for a long time, you kind of get accustomed to being away. But I just miss like comforts of being at home and just waking up in the morning and not having, 7 other people around me and being able to just like go to my coffee shop and get a coffee or something like that. I mean, that kind of stuff is, you miss that, just kind of just being alone. I mean, it's always funny when there's always like a time when I wake up after tour and I'm in my bed at home, but I have this feeling like, oh God, okay, what do I have to do today? And maybe I went out drinking the night before. I'm like, oh God, my voice is rough and do I have to sing like a radio thing today? And then I'm like, oh no, I actually have nothing to do. But there's always that moment where it's still kind of in your brain because you're kind of every day becomes the same a little bit.
Yeah. You guys, I think for a lot of people, you guys really sort of specialize in a certain sort of era and style of rock music, especially the way that like you're viewed. Is there one record, from your influential years that you guys would consider the most important? Like something that stands out, a lot of people are like, oh man, Sgt. Pepper's the greatest album of all time. Do you guys have a specific album by any act that you guys are like, shit, that's the one?
No, not just one. I mean, there's so much, but like certainly bands, like Beatles and Creed and Zeppelin and Crosby, Stills and Nash and stuff. Like we were just, back in 2004 when we started our band, we were like 19 years old and we were, university students, some of us, I guess, and we were like hanging out and Friday night would roll around. We wanted to drink beers and listen to that kind of music, but like, that's 2004. So like if you went to a bar, the band wouldn't be playing that. They'd be playing like, I don't know, like Still in Saskatoon for some reason. There'd be a lot of like sort of ska music or like weird touring acts from Calgary and stuff. Like, I don't know what. But like it just, we weren't hearing like what we wanted to hear. Like,
sure.
Like, I mean, there was some cool bands from America at that time that we liked, but so I think we just were like, well, why don't we make this music? Like, it seems like a lot of our pals, still like guitar rock and like sort of old traditional melodies and things like that. And so it was just sort of like, if you don't see in society what you want, maybe you got to go make it kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that the big thing we are like not necessarily conscious of, but it's like there's a lot of bands that do, not a lot, but bands that do like kind of like throwback kind of sounding stuff. Often like just pick one thing and they really focus on it, and I think that we've always been mindful of like we just listen to all this different type of music from different genres from that era or different eras, and it kind of all bleeds into one thing. So it's not like, let's make a song that sounds like the Immigrant Song in this one. It's more like maybe that will be in the back of your head, but other songs will be in there, mixing those elements, trying to make it, definitely being conscious of trying to make it a little bit more organic and real and not just try to directly emulate a specific band. Because I think
there's like a natural soup of elements that go into creating the music.
Well, like there was like back in 2004, kind of on the heels of like sort of this sort of garage rock, like, Vines, Hives, Strokes type of thing. There was a lot of like interest in those bands. And I remember there were bands coming out that were like, oh, this band sounds exactly like the Beatles, or this band sounds like Zeppelin. And it was sort of like really easy to kind of pinpoint them. And of course, if you sound like the Beatles or you sound like Zeppelin, you're going to sound like a pale imitation because those bands are so great. But like, I think we always sort of strove to like steal evenly from a bunch of different bands.
Yeah.
But then if you mash it up into your own, Bula base, then it's your own thing.
And I'm sure there's people that would say the opposite, but it's also funny when we meet people after shows and people will often be like, what band you sound exactly like? And they'll be like, man, the Marshall Tucker Band. It's like, I don't know if I've ever listened to the Marshall Tucker Band, but I think for him, that's cool because for him, that's the band that he loves. And for him to compare us to that, it's very cool. Hearing. But it's forever. It's like every once in a while, it's like very, you guys remind me of the Screaming Trees. It's like, I've never listened to Screaming Trees.
Whoever you want us to be.
Yeah, exactly.
You guys mentioned that, you've been in a band for what's been now? Like
14 years.
14 years.
Almost.
Do you guys tend to think long term? Like, do you go, hey, like in another 10 years, we want to be doing this? Or you sort of live by the moment, like, hey, this is the music we're making, this is what we're putting out at this time, sort of a record that speaks to us and what we're doing? Or do you think about, hey, this is where we want to be in a bit? And if so, what do you guys kind of want for the future as we wrap up?
I think it's kind of a weird thing when I think this is probably anything in the entertainment business, but in like the music where you're perpetually always thinking forward. It's always like, this is coming out, this tour is happening. And you often are not like living in the moment because you're forever kind of thinking. And I think that it's important to kind of scale that back. When it comes to making a record, it's like, focusing on what you're doing on that day or on that song, and not getting too carried away, because you end up being like, you're not enjoying the moment because you're thinking what the next thing is. And I think it's important to kind of pull that back. I think sometimes you get lost in kind of thinking ahead. I mean, at least for myself, I'm sure about you, but
Yeah, I just think about whatever album we're working on right now, and then once we're done that, like where we are right now I'm thinking about the next album. So as soon as we're done, then I just go, I don't know. It always seems like as soon as we're done making one album, all of a sudden I have a bunch of ideas for the next one. So it's just usually one album ahead. But it is true, you do get kind of trapped in this, like especially when you tour so much and you're so like, it's so like all encompassing. It just takes over your life, and you just kind of like forget about regular life stuff. And then all of a sudden you're 33 and you're like, oh, maybe I should try to like formulate some kind of life for myself outside of just playing shows and making albums. Yeah. So that's where I'm at.
That's where you're at. So do you think you'll resist and stay, or do you think you start to see a life after music? I mean, that's an interesting statement.
I think my life will always be music. Like even if we weren't like doing the same schedule, like
sure.
I don't want to do anything else. And some form of music will always be the focus of my life. But I think over the last couple of years, we've been like starting to figure out, personal things a little better, especially like when I think back to the crazy time of 2011, like just the sheer amount of like alcohol I drank, like it was just like kind of hard to like work through the fog of life.
Sure. Yeah.
But like now it just feels like we're getting to a much more like balanced position. Yeah, feels good.
Thanks for your time, guys.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Really appreciate it. Welcome to The Dessert. I am sitting here by myself in a boardroom at 299 Queen Street West. I'm not quite sure what Shane has planned, but I think any second now he's going to be walking in with Max, and I think like a surprise guest. I know Max has no idea what's going on. I have a vague idea, but again, you never know what's going to happen with dessert. So I guess we're about to see what this thing is. What's up?
Hey, Mikey.
How's it going? We're actually just rolling. So
Yeah, we're rolling.
hey, hey, what up, man? How you doing?
This is the publicity team, Louis, the legend Louis.
How's it going?
Right here. Yeah, right here. I'll sit here. I don't know if we have enough water, but if anyone wants one. Drew, you want water?
Welcome to The Dessert. This is, we're going to let Shane take the reins on this one. And thank you guys for all coming. We're here with Max, we're with Drew Grange, and we're here with our pop culture aficionado, Shane Cunningham.
Yeah, and we have Drew's publicity team in the house, which is probably the biggest entourage we've ever had.
Yeah, we should have booked a bigger boardroom. There's like 50 people in here right now.
And we're here with two Juno Award winners, Max Kerman, of course, of the Arkells,
Yeah.
and Drew Grange. Do you recognize this man?
Cheers.
Yeah, I'm trying to think.
I recognize you.
It's from In Essence.
No. What?
Might be a little too far back.
I'm not sure.
Oh, okay.
You remember In Essence?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Okay. I feel like I've seen you those since, though.
Yeah, I've done a lot of solo stuff. I went
Yeah.
solo in like 07. So
Okay, cool.
I've been
'Cause that-
doing the solo gig for
Yeah.
a
Oh,
minute.
cool.
Yeah, man.
All right,
You guys
trying
are killing it, though.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, thanks very much.
But are you
man.
curious as to why Drew's here?
I am actually.
He really does look curious. He's like, what
am
is
curious.
going on?
Okay, so as you know, we had a rap battle
Oh yeah.
for our live show,
Yeah.
which just aired. But unfortunately, we couldn't get the rights cleared because the Biggie song we used is the backing track.
We couldn't get
Our
that.
legal team wouldn't allow it.
So for you listeners listening right now at home, you heard our live episode which we released last week. Conspicuously missing was the rap battle, and the reason that was because we could not clear the music, like Shane said. So if you've been looking for it, you've been wondering all week, what the fuck happened to the rap battle? That is what happened.
And there was also a slap that we weren't allowed to air to get revenge.
And,
yeah.
and a kiss, a very romantic
And
kiss.
yeah, I also kissed the nut.
All right.
So
Drew's like, what did I get myself into?
the nut is the guy's nickname.
Oh,
Yeah.
that doesn't help much. Bro.
Yeah. This is a weird podcast.
After the rap battle, I was under the impression I had won the battle.
Okay.
But people kept coming up to Mike, I guess, and telling him that I had lost the rap battle. And I was excited for people to hear it so then they could kind of judge for themselves. So I wanted the lyrics at least to be heard. So I was looking for a track that I could get cleared.
Okay.
And then serendipitously, Steve Sarkany from McNabb High School, from back in the day, contacted me and he said, I have an artist that you have to have on your podcast. And then I was like, yeah. And I kind of brushed him off like I normally do. But then I actually clicked the link and it was Drew. And I'm like, oh, maybe I can use one of these melodies to rap over. And then just have him maybe sing a hook on it.
Oh, okay. You're trying to create a song live. So just so you know, Drew, Max and I have no idea what's going on here. Right now. This part of the show, we're in the same boat right now.
Yeah.
Like this part of the show, the dessert is literally Shane's segment.
It's his thing. Okay.
Yeah, we intentionally don't want to know because it's more fun if we're not,
I love it.
in the loop.
I love this right now.
Yeah, so we're all in this together.
Love it.
Shane's driving this ship.
Let's go.
So I was looking for like the most like hip hop track he had, but most of it is like it's like R&B.
All right.
There's this one song that I figured I could kind of rap to called Like I Do.
Yeah.
And
Is that one of your favorites of your music?
That's the new single that we just dropped.
That's the
actually.
big song.
That's the big record.
I like it.
so it's a really good track. It has an awesome chorus, but I wanted to talk to Drew about potentially changing the chorus to adding some lyrics that kind of put down the nut a little bit. So I was like, okay, maybe we'll do like kind of a Lonely Island style track.
Drew's not having any.
Wow. Drew said no.
There's already artistic differences, and we're 3 minutes in.
Yeah.
So I had to have a meeting on Friday night. Steve set it up. I had to meet with Drew in person to kind of talk it out. And Drew and I came to an agreement. That
yes.
He would let me do the verses, but he refuses to change his chorus.
Fair enough.
Right?
How much negotiation was there between you
There
and
wasn't
Shane?
much. I'm like,
Yeah, he was
nah.
pretty steadfast in like
You know,
not changing that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a new record. This is a big podcast. I'm like, yo, I want people to hear that chorus.
That's right.
Fair enough.
You know what I mean?
Stand your ground.
I do the same thing.
Would you do the same thing?
Oh yeah, I wouldn't let Shane push me around.
Changing shit. Changing shit.
So we haven't rehearsed this, but I've practiced on my own. So I'm going to play the instrumental to Like I Do.
Okay.
And I'm going to be doing the verses.
Okay.
And then Drew's going to kick in with the chorus that normally happens in the song. And it might be weird, but
It might be.
but we're going to hope it works out.
And I'm guessing
Where's the track?
Yeah, you have a whole like musical
I've
section.
been planning this, Max. Don't worry.
Okay,
I
good.
have it. Okay, are we ready, Drew?
Let's do it. 105 Records.
All right, here it goes. Shaney Boy, Drew
Yeah,
Grange,
yeah.
2018. Okay, I'm a little nervous.
2018.
Okay. Yo, 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 and a bottle of rum. With that beard, you look like a bum or an asshole. I hate you more than my mole on my forehead. Yeah, I wish you were dead. Haha, I'm just kidding. I'm glad you're alive. But with this next rhyme, it's gonna make you dead on the inside. You look like Jonah Hill with a beard, except you lost less weight and you look more weird. Fuck you like I do. He can't touch you like I do. He can't fuck you like I do. Yeah.
Amazing.
He can't touch you like I do. Fuck you like I do. This a rap battle. Are you ready for it? You're a human toilet, and here comes some shit. Actually, for you, I won't even give a crap, but I'll trade you a punch for that weak-ass slap. You come on here and you brag about your weight, even though you only lost 4 pounds to date. You used to be a pig, but now you're a bore. We don't want you on our fucking podcast anymore. Fuck you like I do.
touch you like I do. No, he can't do like I do. Yeah. He can't touch you like I do. Ooh, fuck you like I do.
Every time you speak, it's a brag or some lies.
Yeah.
The only thing I believe is that you love French fries.
French fries.
This is a verbal boxing match. It's not for fun. I'm Muhammad Ali, and you're the round one. They call you the nut, but it's easy to see. A better nickname would be the diarrhea. You're good at one thing. Yeah, I said it. Watching other people work and then taking all the credit. Yeah. Hit it, Drew.
He can't fuck you like I do. He can't touch you like I do. No, he can't fuck you like I do. Yeah. He can't touch you like I do. Hey. He can't fuck you like I do.
He can't fuck you like I do.
He can't touch you like I do.
He can't touch you like I do.
Fuck you like I do.
That was phenomenal.
That's a fucking hit.
Yeah, that is a hit.
You got some bars.
Yo.
Thank you.
It started a little shaky.
Yeah. But here's the best
the
part.
slowest rap of all time.
Drew has agreed to let that recording go on iTunes, and we sell it, and all the money raised goes to lupus research.
And the nut, because he's gonna be pretty hurt
Yeah.
after that. Those bars.
That'll be part of this
That's
lawsuit.
amazing. So hold on. So that amazing recording that we heard, which was totally
Live
professional.
off the floor, believe it or not.
Yeah, live in the boardroom. We could post that on iTunes, and all streams and sales go toward lupus research. Yeah,
like I
that
did.
chorus was amazing.
Thank you.
Good falsetto, man. Jesus. What are your socials?
At Drew Grange.
All right, check it out.
Everything, Instagram, Twitter, all that business.
Yep, at Drew Grange. So
Sweet.
hit me up, check me out. R&B lovers.
I love it.
That's the best.
Yes.
Yeah, I felt
and easy.
you felt the need to start jumping in there and
I
singing.
know. Well, it's a lead singer thing. You're like, give me the mic. We can do it.
The Nutcracker, featuring Juno Award winners Drew Grange and Max Kerman of Arkells. And introducing 2018 Juno nominee, Shamey Boy 69. Available on iTunes soon.
That's it. That's all. That's our episode. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you to Drew Grange for coming on with the dessert. Thank you so much to the Sheepdogs for being our featured guest.
You can find us online at Mike on Much on Twitter and Instagram. Subscribe to the pod on iTunes. Leave a comment and ratings. That really helps the show grow. Huge thank you to Jenna Gregory and Tara Paquette, as always, for putting together the artwork. Greg Stewart, Webmaster Dan, the whole gang.
Whole damn gang.
Yeah. Oh, the artwork is provided by Jenna Gregory at jennadoodles.com.
That is correct.
jennasdoodles.com.
Leave us a rating. Leave us a comment. I'm not sure if you just said that. But
Yeah, I did it, but whatever.
we're keeping it loose, baby. The Mike and Much podcast is produced by Max Kerman. I am your host, Mike Vierman. See you next week if we don't die on the weekend.
Gonna wear 'em till I'm dead.